All right. What's going on, everybody, man? Welcome back to the Truth with Najeh Wilkins, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We is back this week. Now, last week we missed the show. I'm not even put nothing out, but look, y'all, I've been on the road. I've been rolling. I've been hitting all over Georgia, right? South Georgia, hit Valdosta, Thomas County Central. Probably gonna hit Middle Georgia on Thursday. It hit North Georgia as well, Cartersville, Kennesaw, all those states, man, or all those different cities and things like that, man. So I've been busy. But I got to give you guys the Wednesday show, man, and talk about the latest in college football because there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on in college football. We're gonna talk about some national news, obviously get into some team news and all that good stuff. And y'all know what to do, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Y'all make sure y'all comment. Let me know any topics y'all want to see. And like I said, I've been active this week. Told you guys about Brody Campbell, two-team race, in my humble opinion, that's trying to land his services. And then you also have Jabari Watkins, who I think is a can't miss prospect. If you Georgia Tech and you want to build for the future and get guys, I think Jabari is one of those ones you cannot let go to Florida State or any of those other schools in there, Arkansas. You want to keep him in state. And even though Tallahassee is not far from Thomasville, that kid is elite. And if you Georgia Tech, I will be trying to close in on him and land him and not let him go down south to Florida State, right? So we're going to put those on the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about college football strictly. And let's go ahead and start it up. And let's begin with Labor Day weekend, right? ESPN came out, obviously, on Tuesday and, release all the game dates, release all the good stuff about what's going to be going on in college football. So let's go ahead and get right into it and talk about some of these kickoff times and how Labor Day weekend is going to look. All right, so here we go. I'm super excited. Here is Labor Day weekend. Obviously, we'll kind of mention this in the Georgia Tech segment. Won't go into too much detail right now, but September 3rd, 8 p.m., Thursday, that's going to start it off. Georgia Tech, Colorado. We'll leave that there. We won't say too much. Miami and Stanford, September 4th on a Friday night at 9 p.m. They're going to play each other on ESPN as well. East Carolina and Alabama are going to play each other at noon, obviously on ABC. We'll leave that there as well. Baylor, Auburn, very interesting game. Going to be at 3:30. They played last year. This one will obviously open up the season, I believe, on a neutral setting or neutral site, I believe. But what will Baylor look like with obviously their new look quarterback? Baylor's been kind of flying under the radar a little bit, but remember, they did get DJ Lagway, who is from Willis, Texas, and he's going to obviously should be the starting quarterback. Auburn starts a new regime with Alex Golesh, new quarterback obviously at the helm as well, and a new look team obviously in the Plains, right? So it should be a very good game. And the one everybody's been talking about obviously on Tuesday, Clemson, LSU, right? Those two teams are expected to go and play at 7:30. No real surprise. We've seen this last year. The only difference was I believe this was a Monday night game that played on ABC, but this will be a Saturday game. So get your popcorn ready. That's going to be a lot of fun. And for me, I'm excited because I likely covering the Georgia Tech Colorado game. That gives me a whole Saturday worth of content that I can do and react and look at all these games all day long, react to Auburn and Baylor, react to Clemson and LSU. It's going to be a lot of fun. And obviously the dawn, the start of the Lane Kiffin era for LSU, right? A lot of pressure, a lot of expectations, right? Dabo Swinney expect to have a lot of pressure on him this year, right? After a disappointing year with all the talent that they have. New quarterback at the helm, Chris Vazina, right? And obviously, look at LSU. They're going to have a new quarterback who should be Sam Leavitt, bought over Jordan Seaton. Should have some pretty good wide receivers as well. Running game with Caden Durham. So much more. That should be a great one. Should be a doozy. And then on Sunday at 7:30, if you haven't had enough football, pretty good one with Louisville and Ole Miss, right? The kind of well, he already coached there, but now he is officially the head coach. And Pete Golding, he's going to go up against a really good Louisville team that's expected to be very competitive this year. And people don't talk about this enough, but the opening slate, right? You got two matchups, ACC versus SEC. And if you want to kind of go ahead and make a statement, make a name, these are the games you got to win if you're the ACC. You got to show you coming different this year, and you got to handle business against some of these teams. Now, I ain't gonna say it's gonna be easy, but remember LSU went in there last year in Death Valley and beat Clemson. Right? I thought Clemson was gonna win. LSU handled their business. If you Louisville run that ball with Isaac Brown, you got Lincoln Keelholz, you got a pretty good defense. Who will be the emerging wide receivers will be the question there, and then obviously play a really good Ole Miss team led by Kewan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss. Right? Should be very interesting. But if you the ACC, this is kind of the start where you see like college basketball, like the top teams, ACC, SEC challenge We don't have that in football, but you want to think about this opening stretch and you want to win these games. And then to end us off, everybody feels like Florida State is a dumpster fire and they're going to play against SMU, who should be right back at the top in contention in the ACC, led by Kevin Jennings, obviously great coach, and Rhett Lashley. That'll be very interesting, right? Because sometimes you see teams, guys, that expect to be written off, expect to not be good, and it ended up being good. Now, I came from Florida State too. I'm not gonna lie, on my TikTok, I was like, yo, what the hell kind of drill is this, right? And rightfully so. If you're Florida State, what are you doing? And right now, they're in debt. I think as an institution, when it comes to athletic program, they're really struggling, right? But sometimes in that adversity, you can rise above the ashes and play well. So we're going to see, right? I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, but I want to see what Florida State's going to look like against SMU. And please, guys, remember, people do this all the time. It is just week one. Yes, week one matters, but at the end of the day, with how the college football landscape is, 12-team playoff, looks like we're going to probably expand in 24. I hope we don't, but it's okay. It's 1 week, right? We're going to have our overreactions and we have our underreactions, right? So don't take week one like, oh my gosh, right? Because remember, for last year, Florida State blew out Alabama. Everybody's, ooh, sound alarm bells, alarm bells, alarm bells, alarm bells. And Alabama ended up getting to a college football playoff and winning a playoff game against Oklahoma. Florida State season, they went pretty, 6-0. I believe, or 5-0 at one point. And then it went off the roller coaster after they lost to Virginia on the road in Thursday night in prime time. So I just said to say, take week one with a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna tell us all. These teams are gonna get better as the season wears on, right? You don't want to play your best football week one, bro. Let's just be honest. You don't. You want to play your best football in November and going into December and January. So just take that. But I'm excited. This is a really good slate. Like I said, I plan to watch all of these games. To be humbly honest, I'm gonna have to see what I'm gonna do on that Friday night. I want to watch my Hurricanes, so we'll see if I stay locally and see a game potentially, or if I'm just gonna chill that weekend and just watch college football. I'm not sure. Labor Day weekend is different, man, and I definitely want to see some of these top teams play, man. But I'm excited. Should be a great opening day slate for Labor Day weekend on ESPN. Fox gonna have some great games. Obviously Big Ten Network's gonna have some great games. And obviously, CBS gonna carry some good games as well, man. But can't wait for this slate. Should be a lot of fun. All right, so that's where we start off the show. Now, let's go to some more national news. It's been very intriguing, right? A lot of people have been coming from Lane Kiffin. This has been a hot topic of what's been going on, obviously, with him, right? Now, he said one of his things was this past week, talked about his decision to leave, obviously, LSU, or excuse me, not leave LSU, leave Ole Miss, right? And this is what he said. He says, it'll show in year 2, 3. It's going to show that we have the same systems. We have all this stuff, and we brought it here and combined it with the branding of LSU and the ability to sign elite high school players. That will show. It may not be next year, but this wasn't a 1-year decision, right? So obviously that's a key thing that he was to say. And then followed up in that great article, he also said to Will Alexander, let's see. Will Alexander, Wilson Alexander was a national football reporter. He also said, my bad, clicking on the boy. He also said the narrative that you could stay here forever and be so great and build a statue, and why would you ever leave? Because it doesn't happen. Even some of the greats, as you follow, even at the end, they're actually pushed out. So this is what happens. The coach leaves or gets fired 99% of the time. So it's kind of like, okay, this was amazing, a great 6-year relationship. It was going to end at some point, right? So how I take that is he was like, basically, regardless of whatever happened, this wasn't going to go 10, 20 plus years, right? Eventually it was going to stale and things would happen and things like that. I don't disagree. From that standpoint, things do stale, but I do want to say there are some guys out there that coach for a long time and stay at their institutions or their programs. Nick Saban's a great example. Went to Alabama, he stayed there until he was ready to go. Forever cemented as a legend, right? Things do change. I'm not saying Lane is wrong, right? I think he had a great thing going with Ole Miss. I think he would have had definitely a statue built for him if he would have stayed. And how the trajectory of the program was going, how they were recruiting, I think all that stuff was massive, right? Now, for Lane, he's been a little bit in the headlines, right? And obviously for his comment about kind of the recruits, right? Having to tell a black grandmother or grandfather, hey, come to Oxford, Mississippi instead of coming to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They didn't really like or I guess the parents, some of the ones he talked to, weren't in favor or fond of going to Oxford, Mississippi compared to, Baton Rouge or other places, right? I get it. It's Mississippi, Oxford. Things can happen, right? People feel like, racist things don't happen no more. That's not true, right? Still have racism everywhere, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Things have changed, of course, for the better, but still a long ways to go. So he's been under fire for that, right? Been very interesting to say that. He had to obviously come back against his comments on what he said a little bit, but I feel like he was being real. There's nothing wrong being real. I feel like he was being real, right? Not to say he wouldn't have been successful. He had multiple 10-win seasons. So, obviously I feel like sometimes, yeah, he's right. You be at a place, bro, it runs its course. Nothing wrong with that, right? Stuff like that happens. But I feel like for Lane, he had way more leeway. I just think the way he went about doing it, he could have went better. That's all. We talked about the decision before. Then he could have went better. Now, to his standpoint, or to his point, he's right. Right? Now the infrastructure, right? And then you'll see this in high school football too. The infrastructure is different, right? So Lane Kiffin, to compare it to high schools in Georgia, right? Lane Kiffin with Ole Miss was probably at a Langston, right? Or, he was probably at a Jones County, sort of say, right? But built them up to be, that team you got to pay attention to, make it stay, kind of what Coach Boone did with Langston Hughes, right? LSU is like going to Buford, Carrollton, Valdosta, Lowndes, right? Have a little bit more moxie, a little more cachet, a little bit more brand backing, right? You know what you're going to get in Lowndes. You know what you're going to get in Valdosta. You know what you're going to get in Buford. You know what you're getting in Carrollton, and one of the more recent Blue Bloods in Milton, right? So that's kind of what he did. Sometimes that can bode in your favor. Sometimes it cannot. But there's a lot of pressure on him. They gave him a lot of money, to come down there. They gave him a lot of money to build this roster, right? So it's a lot invested in this. It ain't just LSU. It ain't just Lane Kiffin. You got donors. You got boosters. You know what I'm saying? You got governors. It's a lot there, right? So to his point, he's right. And I give you guys the high school analogy in comparison of kind of what he did right here in Georgia. If you watch it from the state of Georgia, they got a better infrastructure, better success for him to be set up for the next 10, 15 years. I don't disagree. I think he's right. Now, what are you going to do with that, Lane? Right? Because LSU is seems all cool, but there's pressure. There's pressure. And you better perform. And if you don't perform, they get your ass out of there. Period. So we're going to see. Right? I'm going to take year one, grain of salt. I'm not expecting him to win on Natty this year. Can you be relevant? Can you be 9-3 this year with LSU? Can you be on the cusp? Can you make a college football playoff? That's my question. Now, that ain't LSU expectation. They want to win Natty. So I'm gonna give you a little bit more grace though, because I know it takes time. Right? Everything's so microwave now. You gotta win now, win today. And that's just not the reality. It takes time. Even with building a brand or a business. Like you'll have your little viral moments, couple little moments, cool. But it takes time. It takes time for these things. And I think it will take time. But we will see. Right? We will see. Because you was on the cusp of winning one last year. Not that far off. So, excuse me, we will see if he's right and with this infrastructure, right? But it's gonna be pressure, lady. And in week one, we're gonna find out what your team is about. No more hiding from the smoke. No more of these comments. We'll get a chance to see. I'm leaving it down. But all right, that's gonna do it for the national news. Okay. So now we're gonna go to the rest of the show and we're gonna talk about teams. And I'm gonna talk about it. We've seen it in obviously the opening graphic, and it was obviously, Alabama. They're going to play against East Carolina, right? So should be a pretty good game, home opener. You know what I'm saying? Should be a good one between both, obviously, these teams. And if you Alabama, like you go into a 9-game SEC schedule. So some don't like this, some do. Still do want an opponent. But if you Bama, like, hey, I don't want to do too much. I got to prepare for a grueling schedule, right? So I don't think Alabama fans should feel as bad about this one. Like, should feel good. East Carolina is a decent team. Home opener, noon on ABC. A good look to see what Bama looks like, right? Should be able to, handle business. Should have your starting quarterback at that point. Should be Keelan Russell, in my humble opinion. That's just me. Good running back group. Good team overall. Good quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be a good opening test to see where they at. Now, when I say opening test, I'm not saying, national contenders. I'm just saying a good opening look at Alabama and the team they could become this year. So it'll be interesting. It'd be interesting. I'm trying to sit in and try to watch that game for sure. See what Bama looking like, get some takeaways, things like that. We'll find out. We're gonna find out. So I think for Bama, killing the board era, you should be able to handle that. If you don't win this game by 14 plus, 21 plus, then there's a problem. But easier game to start the season, should be able to handle business, should be able to come out on top. I think Bama should be fine, right? Noon, ABC, eyes gonna be on you. Will all eyes be on you? Probably not, but eyes will be on you. Handle your business. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. All right. Alabama also had a major commitment, right? This is via Rivals Chat Simmons, national recruiting analyst and guru. He grew up obviously following the Vols. His father played at Tennessee, but he decided to go to Alabama, right? Basically said, I talked to God and he told me I needed to go to Bama. Time until Rivals' decision wasn't easy. That's all I thought about growing up, but you got to go somewhere that puts you in the best position. I prayed about it a lot. I looked at each school on my list, and Alabama was right one for me. The feeling about Alabama was different than the others. The feeling never left. When I got around the players, they knew me, and I just felt comfortable. The last visit, I hung out with them a lot, and we got along. It was all natural, and that really stood out. The Alabama culture really sealed it for me. The standard that they hold you to is different. When you think of Alabama, you think of winning and working hard. I want to help. I want to be held to that standard. So obviously, he's a legacy. Obviously a guy that's played at a high level. Being a Vols fan, his dad playing with Tennessee, going to rival team. But at the end of the day, when it comes to pops and things like that, they don't really care. They want the best opportunity for their kids. It is interesting though, because people come for Kalen DeBoer in this era so much, but you still see kids say the same thing. Like Alabama has a standard, Alabama has a culture. I want to be held to that standard. I want to stay there, right? And it's a high ranking linebacker, right? We know the last few cycles they've landed on linebackers at a high level, 4-star and above. So he's a guy that could come in. I think I won't say play day one, but he should be a contributor. He should be in the rotation, right? And to get this guy from Tennessee and not allow him to stay, play for Knoxville, play in Neyland Stadium, I think goes a long way. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how he continues to develop, but massive. And I think you just see what he said to Chad Simmons, his ability or Alabama's ability to build rapports and relationships with guys, and still people see it as a standard of Alabama, right? There's been people in the media that's called him soft, not the same team in the DeBoer era. He's trying to replace big shoes, but I think they're doing a great job recruiting and getting in top guys. And I think you see that with obviously Kenneth Simon. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's something that Alabama's going to continue to do until land big time guys. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to move on. As we move on, y'all give me one second. I'm just clear my nose. But we're going to go to Georgia. And Georgia has gotten on a race on Peter Bourquet. All right. One sec, y'all. Y'all, sorry about that. But Peter Bourquet. So apparently Mike Bobo is going to go visit Peter Bourquet as well and trying to build that rapport and relationship. And it's interesting. Georgia's always been in these races for these 4-star, 5-star type quarterbacks, but it comes down to I really think it's playing time with a lot of these guys, right? Because we know Georgia eventually you're going to get to play, but it can take a few years. You look at Gunnar Stockton, right? Obviously took him a few years. Carson Beck, I don't believe, played early in his career with Georgia. You look at obviously Stetson Bennett is another one. It took him quite a while to get the field, get on the field, see the field. So it takes a lot of time with Georgia. It's been rare you see a guy come straight out 4-star, 5-star soaking wet and plays with obviously the Bulldogs. It's just the reality of the situation, right? And right now, Georgia is in competition with Penn State and Virginia Tech. Now, Penn State has a new era, right? Um, you know, new head coach in Matt Campbell, who I believe left Iowa State and went up there. I believe Rocco Beck followed him, if I'm not mistaken. I'll confirm that for sure later on. But that there's opportunity there, right? Virginia Tech brought in Ethan Grunkmeyer. I think they believe they have a top tier quarterback coming in as well from high school, but opportunity there at Virginia Tech as well, maybe after this season, right? Georgia, we'll see. Excuse me, they're loaded. Ryan Palizzi, Ryan Montgomery, we know the starter will be Gunnar Stockton, Coach Jin, and obviously Hezekiah Melender, right? So Georgia got a lot of quarterbacks, you know what I'm saying? So I think when you evaluate your quarterback, you got to look at one, the development of the position. Two, how many people are already there? Three, what number am I on the board, right? So, obviously for Peter Borke, he got to consider all that and what would be great fits for him. And then you got to think about the Hokies. They got, obviously, head coach now, James Franklin. I ain't saying he's a quarterback whisperer, but usually his quarterbacks perform pretty good when it comes to college football. So that's something to think about. That's something to obviously consider if you're Peter Borke. But Georgia's obviously turning up the heat. And here's what he had to say. Georgia was a great visit. Borke said after the second trip. It is the premier program in college football today, and it was easy to see why. UGA is a place to compete for championships and get developed to chase my goals and be a part of an amazing, stable culture. We spent the whole day with Coach Mike Bobo and Coach Brandon Streeter, talked about football, development, and what it's like to be a part of the Georgia football. We also spent close to an hour with Coach Smart. He was great, and it's easy to see why he's top coach in college football. He's someone I know who could help me reach my highest potential and put me in a position to achieve my most important goal, to win a national championship. Obviously, he's a former Michigan commit. We opened up obviously his commitment. Great reporting there by Steve Wolflong or Wolflong. I think it's going to be very intriguing to see what happens next for Peter Borke. Obviously, Georgia's pushing him hard. They want him. Obviously, two guys in there. It just depends. Like I said, you can win a natty definitely with Georgia. Penn State obviously is a program kind of retooling, rebuilding. Virginia Tech, we got to see what they're going to look like this year with James Franklin. So if you're going off national championship and the perspectives to win, Georgia definitely has that. But if you look at the opportunity for Peter Borke to potentially play early in your career, I think the other two definitely have a little bit more to offer, Penn State and obviously Virginia Tech, compared to maybe what Georgia is going to be and offer once he comes in as a 2027 recruit. So something to think about, man. Something to think about. But Georgia is making a push, and I think they're getting the in-home visit from obviously Mike Bobo. All right, so something to definitely think about there. More news on the Georgia front, obviously written by Jake Rowe. Great job by him. They are going to play. They canceled their home and home series with Georgia and Florida State. Y'all know what a home and home is. Basically, 1 year it's at Georgia, 1 year it's at Florida State. But now they're looking to play a neutral site game in 2028, right? So not next year, but the following year. 7 cities that they're potentially considering: Atlanta, Charlotte, Miami, Nashville, New Orleans, Orlando, and Tampa are running to host the game. McMurphy tweeted. Georgia and Florida last met in 2023 Orange Bowl. We know Georgia beat the crap out of them in that game, 63-3. And after going 13-0, they didn't obviously make it to the college football playoff. That's when it was a 4-team college football playoff, and obviously expanded to now 12. And looks like eventually probably going to be 24. So I think it's very intriguing to say the least. Those two teams obviously set in the neutral site game for 2028. What I do love, I hate that they canceled the game. Excuse me, but I do love that they obviously are trying to set a neutral site game. So at least you're trying to give us something, right? Because the neutral site games are fun. Knowledgeable fan bases to come, creates good revenue for both programs, so on and so forth. So we love neutral site games, and we see the best of the best play, right? So I love that both are not running from the smoke. Yes, they canceled the home and home series, but at least they're still going to do it. They both could have ran and be like, I'm good. I already have a 9-game slate. I don't want to play more tough teams. But at least they're at least trying to play the game. That's a positive update for 2028. And obviously, two of the premier programs usually in college football going head to head. So obviously, love that. All right. We'll leave it there for Georgia. Not too much news. We're going to go now to, obviously, the big cojones, right? And that is Texas and Ohio State. I did a video on this on my TikTok, but I will react, live on the show. So let's go ahead and talk about it, man. I'm excited for this one. You know what I'm saying? And I think it will be a lot of fun, right? Obviously, we talked about the Clemson LSU, as you guys can see here, but let's talk Ohio State, Texas. Let's do it. All right. So for me, this is great, right? Last year, this was a big noon kickoff, right? Obviously, that's kind of the premier game for Fox, right? Noon. They're gonna do the same thing with Ohio State, Michigan. They always get that game. We know that. A game like this, though, y'all, you don't put this at noon. You put this on prime time. 7:30, right? ABC, the best of the best, the creme de la creme. Jeremiah Smith, Chris Henry Jr., Julian Sand, that freshman phenom that they got as well at the running back spot. You know what I'm saying? For, uh, Ohio State defense, new look defense. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited. You know what I'm saying? This is what we want. This is what we want to see. Arch Manning, redemption, right? Tough start to the season, struggling. Great end to the year. Said, I'm going to stop caring. I'm going to stop giving an F what people think. I'm going to go out there and ball. And the investment from the offensive line, getting Gooseby and all those boys, and the running backs, as we always talk about on the show, and the wide receivers and the defense, and going to go get linebackers in the top-rated class in the 2026 recruiting class. Texas should be good. You know what I'm saying? This year. National championship expectations. No excuse. Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait. That one, I'm buttering up my popcorn for that one. That's going to be some must-see TV. And you best believe my Saturday will be canceled out, and I will be watching that damn game. As soon as this goes off, I will be doing a live reaction, or I'll do a quick reaction, then live. I don't give a damn. We'll be doing something, because that's must-see TV, and I want to see how Arch looks, because he struggled last year. Just to get a redemption, though. So we're going to see must-see TV, and obviously Sark being in the headlines as well. So love to see it. Can't wait to see what happens next, man. And I think it'll be a good year for Texas. They should be right in that conversation. They're going to have that expectation. Now it's time to go out and show it and prove it. Put your money where your mouth is. Don't put up. Or either put up or you shut up. We're going to find out, right? How it's going to look a little different, right? They had a NFL roster, for real. You know what I'm saying? 4 or 5 of the top 12 picks went in the first round of the NFL draft in April. Yes, they had dogs. So we'll see what it looked like this year with Ohio State. We know they want to get back to the Natty. How good will Chris Henry Jr. be? Who will be the next defensive leader for them? We'll answer a lot of those questions on that Saturday on ABC. Must see TV. Can't wait. All right, let's keep it rolling. That's all we really got for Texas. Not too much going on. If we hear any recruit news, we'll obviously react to that on the program and on the show, man. But let's continue rolling, man. And let's talk Chris Brazzell II. Makes an unreal catch playing with the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, he was drafted, with them in the 19th pick in that round that they selected him in the third round. And he's already making headways and making plays in practice. So we're going to show the play real quick from Jeff Hawkins. I believe he's a Carolina beat reporter. If it ever loads. There it is. Here it is, y'all. Y'all can see it up close. Let's mute. We don't want no copyright. Nice route. And obviously, you see what makes Chris Brazzell special, right? This the ability to stop for the football and go get it and drag that foot as well. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, got to get 2 for the NFL. But, you see what made him special. And like I said last year at one point, I thought he was one of the best receivers in college football, right? Really. Like, I know McCall Lemon won the Biletnikoff Award, and rightfully so. But he was right in that conversation with Danny Scudero, all them boys, you know what I'm saying? And I thought Chris Brazzell II was there. Now, obviously, it teetered off a little bit. Tennessee had some of their struggles last year, you know what I'm saying? Certain points and junctures of different games. But, pound for pound, first 6, 7 games of the season, Chris Brazzell, I think, was the best in college football, in my humble opinion. So, and now he's playing with Carolina. They need another receiver, right? I know they got, obviously, Tutoria McMillan. He's good, but they're going to need another weapon for, Bryce Young. Running back core is pretty good, but they need another guy that can win on the outside, that's speedy and can run those routes. And I think that's what Chris Brazzell is going to be. So, great pickup for Carolina. It should help them out a ton. I ain't saying they're going to win the division, but they should be able to be competitive and win some ball games. So, great catch, obviously, by him. And no surprise to see him balling already. Now, for my Tennessee fans, I'm going to put y'all on game for somebody that you need to watch. You need to pay attention to, man. And for this one, I'm gonna go to my Instagram account. And it's a guy that obviously right now he's doing training, trying to get himself together, trying to get himself right. And I think, man, with this training, I think he's gonna be just fine. And the name y'all need to know is this kid right here, man. Will Rejecki, right? Kid is massive, 6 foot, 6'1", 205. He's continuing to put in work this offseason and do some great things. Obviously, see the post right here, man, and you guys can see the training. Now, he's not there. He's not on campus just yet. But I think this is a guy that's going to be one to watch for. Now, they loaded. They obviously already got a running back, that's going to be starting for them, Deshaun Bishop. They got Javin Gordon, who tore it up in the spring, really made a name for himself. But, in terms of depth, and you want the 3-4 headed monster, I think you have to also consider this guy right here should be able to return kicks. But what's going to be key is him learning the system, him learning the playbook early. And if he could do that, I think he will see the field early, for them. It's some kind of role. It might not be the running back role. This dude can also run routes. He can also play the slot for them as well, right? They loaded. They got three-headed monster at wide receiver. I ain't denying that. But the more playmakers and weapons you have, the better it is. But it ain't easy to play as a freshman. But here you go. You guys can see him putting in that work. Being able to do his thing, being able to cut through, trained by one of the best running back trainers in the state of Georgia in Beckwith Sports Academy. And I think he'll be a guy to continue to watch, moving forward. So I just put y'all on game with that. I think he's going to be a guy definitely to consider if you're Tennessee. If it's not this year, it'll definitely be next year. But I think he's a guy that will make some headway for the Tennessee Volunteers in the near future and should be one to watch. It might be difficult this year, but I'm telling y'all, this guy right here is a baller. And Tennessee really found a gem, one of the best running backs in the state this past year. I call him Hercules. Baby Hercules. Y'all see what I'm talking about soon. When you heard it from me first, I brought the commitment. This is a dude right here. And you better grab your lunch pail when you're trying to go up against him. You better grab that lunch pail. All right, man. We're gonna leave that there, obviously, and keep it rolling. All right. That is it for Tennessee. All right. Now we're going to go to my favorite team, the Miami Hurricanes. Yes, sir. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about the big flip, right? Miami Hurricanes obviously doing very well right now nationally, number 5 right now in the country. You know what I'm saying? Number 1 in the ACC they've had the last few years, man. But Dante Wright was massive. 5-star prospect, number 8 national, number 2 at his position, and number 1 in the state. And that was a massive pick up for them from all the way from California. Remember, he was committed to Georgia, right? And we know Georgia has done pretty good with the DB position. But if you Dante right, the ability to see the field early, see the development of the position. Bryce Fitzgerald, I know he's playing safety. He was a top-rated freshman safety in the country, 80.6, I think, PFF score. And you come in with a really elite class. 5-star Nick Lanier, no-cut Nick, along with yourself, is your Abrams, 4-star prospect from obviously Montini Catholic in Illinois. You got Sean Tatum along with you. Ezekiel Bill as well from Houston, Texas. And Ty Keys as well from obviously Poplarville, Mississippi. And as you see, they recruit all over, right? Like Miami, like Mississippi, Texas, Florida, Illinois, Florida, California. Miami is getting from all over the country. And Tyler Ford is an underrated gem as well at 6'6", 315. So massive for Miami. I like this kid. I think he can play at a high level. And he's going to be able to obviously contribute. Now, here's his reason why he decided to flip to Miami. Now, most people feel like he took the bag. He says, there are a lot of people who are going to say I took the bag or whatever, right? Said, if I'm being real with you, I could have gone somewhere else and taken a way crazier bag and surprised everyone. That wasn't me. That wasn't my goal. My goal is to play football at a high level. Somewhere I'm going to be comfortable. And main thing here was life after ball. Obviously, no matter the reasoning, he's staying locked in. Has an on-3 evaluation of $457,000. Now, let's be honest. The bag that Miami offered compared to Georgia, you know what I'm saying, y'all? Like, we know Miami's bag is bigger than Georgia right now. No disrespect. They're getting more, backing. Obviously, private university. Most people don't know that. And also, Miami just has that backing, bro. So, they can offer those bags, Now, Georgia's different. Georgia is going to develop. Georgia is about player retention. They offer some bags, too, but it ain't to the level of Miami or Texas Tech or any of those giant teams, Texas A&M. It just ain't that type of bag. But you got things you got to do, man. You got things you got to do. And like I said, with Miami, he'll probably see the field early. You know what I'm saying? So a great flip, a great pickup. And who's to say Georgia won't continue to be, in his ear, right? This ain't over until December, bro. You know what I'm saying? So this recruiting stuff is going to heat up. You're going to see kids commit over the next few weeks, especially on the latter half, of May. But at the end of the day, it don't matter till that dotted line is signed in December. You know what I'm saying? So to say that, just wanted to point it out to y'all. That's something to obviously consider and to obviously think about. All right, more Miami news, man. Let's talk about Miami and Stanford, right? Now, obviously, we talked about in the opening, you know what I'm saying? Labor Day weekend, top games. Obviously, this will be one in exclusive slot, at 9 p.m. Now, look, if you're Miami, this is good, right? It's good because you get to get this West Coast game out of the way. You ain't got to worry about going late. When we had Cam Ward on the road and playing California, you ain't got to worry about that late in the season, getting their best shot going up against Fernando Mendoza. You ain't got to really worry about that. Stanford is still in a very steep rebuild, new head coach. It's going to take time for Stanford to get back on track. Let's just be humbly honest. They don't have the talent of other teams. It's going to take some time before they're good. Now, I'm not saying my Hurricanes need to sleep on them. New quarterback, right? Couple new receivers added in alongside Malachi Tony. Defensively, going to look a little bit different, losing Ruben Bain and Key Messenor, right? So it's a team that's going to look different, right? But handle your business. 6 p.m. kickoff. You should be able to go in there and beat Stanford. You get it week one, get out the kinks. Might not look the best, you know what I'm saying, because you're on the road, California, time zone change difference, BS. We should be in handle business. Miami is easily more talented than Stanford, right? But sometimes those are those trap games. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. Got to keep your eye on it. But I do think Miami should be able to handle business, win this game, do their thing, and do what they need to do to come out on top and win, right? So I'm not that worried about this. Stanford's going to take some time for them to build. Still going to probably have to figure out the QB situation. I feel like we should be fine. We're more talented. We're a better team. We should be fine. Prime time slot. We're the number one team in the ACC. I feel like we should handle our business, and I feel like we should be just fine. So, got my Canes, man. But obviously, they're gonna play them on September 4th on a Friday night. Should be just fine though. All right, let's keep it rolling. We're now moving to Georgia Tech to end off the show, and I've already done a video on this. This is on the channel, but I always gotta keep my Georgia Tech fans happy, satisfied. You know what I'm saying? Y'all always support me, man. So shout out to y'all. Y'all are the realest ones in the game. All right. So Georgia Tech, Colorado. Okay. 8 p.m. kickoff, September 3rd. Obviously that's gonna be on a Thursday night. And what I love, we showed the graphic earlier. Exclusive window for Georgia Tech. Again, playing prime time instead of Friday, playing on Thursday, right? So I think it goes to show, as I said in my video, where Georgia Tech is, where they're going, and how they're being nationally recognized. Now, as I said in the video, Georgia Tech was the number 2 team, only behind Miami in the Nielsen ratings, people tuning into their games, all that good stuff, right? So Georgia Tech is getting that national appeal. Now you got to capitalize. You win that primetime slot. Now, if you're Georgia Tech, handle your business, right? Beat Colorado. I ain't saying it's going to be easy because I think Colorado's going to be better than what people think. Handle your business. That sets up potentially that following week on that Saturday. That might be a primetime game, right? Or if it ain't at the noon slot, it could be the 3:30 slot. You know what I'm saying? Because Tennessee's a national brand still, regardless if they have a win or not. Tennessee's nationally recognized. You could potentially play them in at 3:30, or obviously that 7:30 slot. We don't know. We will have to obviously see what happens with that. But that's going to be must-see TV week 2, right? But first, handle your business. And this just shows because back-to-back years, last year you played on a Friday night, prime time, ESPN. Now you can do it again against Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. Obviously, Colorado did not have a good year last year. They struggled, was getting whooped in the Big 12. I think they would be much more formidable, much more competitive, and should be a team that plays at a better level, I think, this upcoming year. Obviously, a lot of transfers, so things will look obviously different, but Colorado should be able to do business, handle their business, and should be competitive in this game. Still going to roll with Georgia Tech. New offensive coordinator, George Gossett, new defensive coordinator, obviously, in I can't think. Jason Seymour, new running back Justice Hayes, along with Malachi Hosley, new quarterback Alberto Mendoza. They still should be fine and should be able to win this football game, in my humble opinion. But I think it just shows the national backing and the brand that Georgia Tech's becoming. Now, look, they've already won national championships. They've always been a brand. When I say brand, I mean like getting back into that national spotlight again, right? It's been quite a long time, but I think with Coach Key, Georgia Tech's a team that is respected and you have to talk about, especially in the ACC. Now this year it's about getting to the ACC championship game, trying to win it, and getting back the flats back to where it used to be and what it was before. That simple. But I think you're starting to see people recognize it nationally with another big time slot like this. My humble opinion. Now, last thing for Georgia Tech I want to talk about before we wrap it up is I'll give you guys a player to watch, right? And one that everybody's like, not talking about. I talked about it a lot, locked on Georgia Tech. So I like highlighting the underrated players. And this week, the one I talked about was Daquan White, right? I want to see what he's going to look like this year, right? I can go Christian Speakman, Noah Carter, Jordan Walker. Y'all have heard about them. Daquan White had a really productive spring, right? Balled out, did his thing. And I think he's a guy we need to talk more about, right? Daquan White is very talented, played at Creekside High School. They do things differently. They just won a state championship. He played amongst those great teams. I think Daquan White has all the potential in the world, and I think it's gonna be interesting what they roll out. Jalen Mbakwe is gonna be the starting corner at one of those positions, but who's gonna be your opposite CB2? Is it Daquan? Is it Zach Toby? Will they rotate? That's gonna be interesting. I think in the inside at the star nickel spot, you're gonna have Tay Harris or you're gonna have Kevin Hill. However you're gonna do that mismatch, whatever you want to do. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see what they do there. But I think Daquan White had a really productive spring. He was making a lot of plays, PBUs, deflections, big hits. Can he do that consistently on Saturdays? Because if he takes that next step forward in his senior season, that's massive for Georgia Tech. Because now you feel like, okay, I got two really good corners, an improved defense, an attack style defense. Safeties that are young but are getting that chops and getting their experience in Phoenix Felton and Tay Harris. Also got Savion Riley back there and a really good, talented young player in Keelan Jones. But now I can lean on Daquan White to sit down that other end of the field or make it very difficult. Right now, he might get picked on early because Daquan White gave up these plays, a couple of these plays last year. But if he can go and show early, yeah, you ain't gonna be thrown to my side. It's gonna be a problem. Georgia Tech might be playing in the money, man. They might have a defense that creates a lot of turnovers, right? J.C. Seymour has been known for that, right? But we know corners last year they struggled. Amari Harvey missed some time last year with injury, right? And we know they were getting beat a little bit. Cooper Barcade going off for over 160 plus yards. Some other guys that went up against that torched them, even Boston College. But Daquan White's one of those guys, along with Jalen Mbakwe. Two guys just, I won't say looking to prove themselves, but looking to show like, yo, we is them. You can't mess with us. We is a damn problem. I feel like if he could show that this year, Georgia Tech will be really good defensively, and it's going to be tough to beat them, especially with how the defensive line is and the linebackers falling to the ball. If your corners can cover without getting beat, and your safeties, all you have to do is react. Look the hell out. You know what I'm saying? Look the hell out. Georgia Tech might be a goddamn problem. So we're going to see what happens, but Daquan White is my player to watch this year. Want to see what he's going to be able to do. Under the radar guy, y'all know me, though. If you ever follow me, my brand, the Najeh Wilk brand, y'all know me. I love to highlight underrated guys that nobody's talking about, right? That's just me. Exposure for all. I love that. That's my moniker. That's what I stand by. That's what I do. And I think Daquan White's going to be one of those guys, underrated, that's going to be one to watch in the college football season. Look out, because he might be one of them ones, 100%. All right, so that's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Hype up this video, man. Let me know more college football content y'all want to see, man. Please let me know. Try to stay more consistent. Hit more on my Substack as well with all the content I'm doing. Just been busy, y'all. Like I said, I've been hitting spring practices. I've been on the road, trying to build rapport, relationships with these high school kids, trying to build more with some of these college kids or college coaches as well to put these kids out there. I'm just trying to help people, man. Help people. You'll get helped. So that's how I look at it, man. But yes, it did. Again, doing this show for y'all late. Like, I hope y'all appreciate it, man. I hope y'all love the content. And please let me know more things you want to see. I want to make this a channel. I want to make this a platform where you enjoy coming to, get your laughs, your giggles, and you get a different perspective when it comes to college football. That's what I want to do, man. So love y'all. Appreciate y'all, man. I will see y'all in the next one, man. And enjoy the rest of y'all night. Peace.